pulling it all together today. Now, these notes are just me going over the assignment essentially. So at any point you feel comfortable, stop the videos and just actually do the problems, try them out. So y equals sine pi x plus 2. All right, we need to state the period. All this stuff is over here. So let's just get at it. Now let's think about what changes we have here. So there's no a, there's no a listed, which means our amplitude is just going to be 1. The period, remember, you calculate by doing period equals 2 pi over b. And in this case, the b is pi. So 2 pi over pi is 2. Okay. Now, when I'm graphing these, I immediately take, because remember, we kind of divide our graph into 4 sections. So I take the period, and I'm going to call these my steps. We take the period, which is 2, and we're just going to divide it by 4, which 2/4 is just 1/2. So this is how we're going to scale our graph. We're going to do each additional mark 1/2 higher than the previous one. So the transformations, well, the period has changed, but the only transformation here is we have that +2, which shifts it up 2 units. So our center line is going to be at 2. This is going to be our center. Now our amplitude is 1, so we're going to go 1 above this, then 1 below this. So at most we'll go up to 3, and at the lowest we're going to go down to 1. We don't have a horizontal shift here, so we're going to start right at 0. And remember, our steps are at 1/2. So here would be 1/2. Here would be 2/2, which is 1 whole. Here would be 3/2, and here would be 4/2, which is 2. And that would give us 1 full cycle, which I believe that's all they're asking us to do. But let's get a little wild here, and let's do 2 cycles. So 3/2, 4/2, 5/2, 6/2 is 3, 7/2, 8/2 is 4. This would give us 2 full cycles, which again, they didn't ask us to do. We're just cool like that. So remember, sine starts in the center, sine, center. Then it goes up, center, down, center. This would be 1 full cycle. And that, I believe, is all we asked for. But let's do 2. And it just continues. Center, up, center, down, center. Whee, woohoo, woohoo. So remember, domain is right and left. This goes on forever. And all the domains for sine and cosine are going to be all real numbers. Or you could say negative infinity to positive infinity. The range, the lowest we hit was 1, the highest we hit was 3. So we're going to list that as bracket 1, 3, closing out with brackets. Cool. Y equals 1/2 cosine x minus 1/4. Now the 1/2 affects the amplitude, so our amplitude would be 1/2. So it's going to go up 1/2 and down 1/2 from the center line. The minus pi over 4, that's a horizontal translation. So we're going to shift right pi over 4. That's going to be like our starting area. Now the period, there was no change in the period here. So the period for cosine is going to be 2 pi. But, like I said before, I like figuring out what the steps would be. So if we just take the 2 pi and we break it up into fourths, 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. So we're going to keep adding pi over 2 to figure out the next mark. But this has been shifted over to the right, pi over 4. So this is like our starter right here. This is where we're going to be where we start. We're going to add pi over 2 to that. Now, if we're adding pi over 4 plus pi over 2, we need to get the same denominator. So this would be plus 2 pi over 4. So if we add 2 pi over 4, 1 pi over 4 plus 2 pi over 4 would be 3 pi over 4 plus 2 more pi over 4 would be 5 pi over 4. Then we'd have 7 pi over 4. Keep it going, 9 pi over 4. And this goes on forever. 11 pi over 4. 13 pi over 4. You only have to do one cycle unless we tell you to do two, which you could also do a negative cycle for that too. There is no vertical shift, but the amplitude is 1/2. So we're going to go up 1/2, we're going to go down 1/2. We're ready to go. Now remember, cosine starts at the highest level, so our highest is going to be 1/2. But remember, we're starting shifted to the right, this pi over 4, so this is going to be our starting point right there. So it goes top, center, bottom, center, top. This would be one full cycle. If we were to continue this, top, center, bottom, and it would continue on forever in both directions. Great. Domain, all real numbers. Range, the lowest value we hit was negative 1/2. The highest we hit was positive 1/2. What am I doing on time? I got time. All right, the negative 4. So automatically I know there's going to be an amplitude of 4 and it's going to be reflected. So amplitude 4 reflected. Okay, the 1/4 affects the period. So period is 2 pi over b 1/4. So if you are doing 2 pi divided by a fraction, you're really multiplying by the reciprocal. The reciprocal of 1/4 is 4. So that would give us a period of 8 pi. I like to find my steps. So I'm going to break that 8 pi into 4 places. 8 pi divided by 4 is 2 pi. So I'm going to mark off every 2 pi. And again, we just need one period graphed here, but I'm going to throw in some extra plots. 2 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 8 pi. That would be one full cycle. 10 pi, 12 pi, 14 pi, 16 pi. That would give me 2 cycles. We're cool like that. Our amplitude is 4. So at most it's going to go up 4 and down 4 from the center. And there was no change in the center here. We don't have a vertical shift. So we're just going to go positive 4, negative 4, which that would be our range, right? Negative 4 to 4. Domain on these are all real numbers. We have all the information. We just need to graph it. So sine, center. Sine starts in the center. And usually goes center, top, center, bottom. But this is reflected. So this one's going to go center, bottom, center, top, center. This would be one cycle of our graph. And it would continue. Bottom, center, top, center. Look at us. We're killing it. All right. Negative 4. Amplitude, it's going to be 4. It's going to be reflected. And then this one has that x minus pi, and it's grouped with the x. So that would be a shift to the right of pi. The b here is 1, and so that doesn't affect our period. Our period is going to be 2 pi. Old man plan likes to figure out our steps, so we're going to take the period divided by 4, which comes out to pi over 2. So we're going to mark every additional half of a pi. Domain, we already know. Domain is all real numbers. Now there's no vertical shift, so really we can just look at the A to figure out our range. Our amplitude is 4. So at most, or at the lowest, we're going to go to negative 4. At the highest, we're going to go to positive 4. Everything is shifting to the right pi. And we're going to mark off every 1/2 pi. So we'll say, here's 1 pi over 2. 2 pi over 2 is just pi. And we have 3 pi over 2. 4 pi over 2 is just 2 pi. 5 pi over 2. 6 pi over 2 would be 3 pi. 7 pi over 2. And 8 pi over 2 would just be 4 pi. So we're starting to the right pi units. So here's going to be our first point. Cosine typically starts at the maximum point, but this one's being reflected. So we're actually going to start at the lowest point here. So let's give our 4, negative 4. So we're starting at the bottom. We started at the bottom, now we're here. So we're going to go lowest point, middle, maximum, middle, minimum. This would be one cycle of this graph. Now let's continue it because we're cool. Minimum, center, maximum. If we went to the left, we're at the lowest point, and we'll go to the middle point, and we'll go to the maximum point. So if you were, this is done, we're good, but I kind of want to stretch your brain a little bit. If you were given this graph, you could certainly make this equation out of it. Or, if you look, if we had to create another equation, I see it's starting at 0, it's starting at a maximum point. So we could say y equals 4 cosine, and the period doesn't change. Our cycle is 2 pi. So this is the same as y equals 4 times the cosine of x, right? Which looks like a much simpler equation, but they come out to the same graph because graphs start to repeat every so often. Pretty interesting stuff. I'm sure at home, if you're just watching this going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is brilliant. How many more we got left? 3 more. We're killing it. All right. Whoa. Number 5. Oh, good for us. We only have 2 more. Number 5. All right. The 3 is the amplitude. It's not reflected because it's not negative 3. I see that we have a 4, which affects our period. Period is 2 pi divided by b, and 2 over 4 reduces to 1/2. So our period is going to be 1/2 of a pi. Transformations, all right, the plus pi over 8 would shift it left pi over 8. I see b minus 1 at the end, that would shift it down 1. Domain we know is all real numbers. Range, let's try to figure this out. Now, we're shifting everything down 1, so our center line is going to be at negative 1. Our amplitude is 3. So at most we can go up 3 from there and down 3 from there. So negative 1 plus 3 would be positive 2. So our maximum point is going to be 2. If we're at negative 1 and we go down 3, that would get us to negative 4. So that would be the lowest we would ever go. Look at that. We filled out all this information without even graphing it. That's wild. Now, if we're figuring out our steps, we're going to take our period and we're going to divide it by 4, which is the same as multiplying by 1/4. So we're going to mark off every 1/8 of pi, which is nice because we're shifting to the left pi over 8. So this would be negative pi over 8, and 0, and 1 pi over 8, 2 pi over 8, 2/8 reduces to 1/4. Then we have 3 pi over 8, 4 pi over 8, 4/8 is 1/2, so pi over 2. Now this would give us more than one full cycle. So that was 4 pi over 8, and we got 5 pi over 8. 6 pi over 8 would be 3/4. 7 pi over 8. And 8 pi over 8 would be 1 pi. I ran out of room. So sine starts in the center. We're shifting left pi over 8, but we're also shifting down 1. So here's going to be our center line. From there, we're going to go up 3, so 0, 1, 2, and we're going to go down 3. Negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. All right. So we start in the center, but we're shifting left pi over 8. So here's going to be our first point. We go center, maximum point, center, minimum point, center. This is one full cycle of our graph. If we were to keep going, we're at the center, we go maximum, center, minimum, center. So here would be a second cycle of that graph. That one was pretty tough. That's about as tough as they get. Until you get here, the last one. -4 out in front. That means our amplitude is going to be 4. It also means there's going to be a reflection. The 2 affects our period. This period is 2 pi divided by b, and 2 pi divided by 2 is just pi. So this is going to repeat at pi. Now, if we're thinking about our steps, we just need to divide that by 4. So we're going to mark off every quarter pi. What else we got? We got the plus pi over 4. That shifts it left pi over 4. And we have the plus 2, which shifts it up 2. So our center line is going to be at positive 2. Domain, we already know, all real numbers. So if our center line is at 2 and our amplitude is 4, we can go 4 up and 4 down from 2. So if we're at 2 and we go down 4, that would be -2. If we're at 2 and we go up 4, that would be positive 6. So we have to make sure we include these points. So let's make 6 up here. 2, 4, 6. And then 2, 4, 6, 0, -2, -4, -6. And we're not even going to need most of those points. Our center line is at that positive 2. We're shifting to the left pi over 4, and we're marking off every pi over 4. So we're going to be at -pi over 4 here. It's getting a little scrunched with my other numbers. -pi over 4, 0, positive pi over 4. 2 pi over 4, which reduces to 1/2. 3 pi over 4. And that's enough for one cycle, but we're too cool for that. Now we have 4 pi over 4, which is pi. 5 pi over 4. 6 pi over 4 reduces to 3 pi over 2. 7 pi over 4. And 8 pi over 4 would be 2 pi. This is going to give us plenty. Cosine starts at the maximum point, but this is reflected, so it's actually going to start at the minimum point. We're starting left pi over 4 at our minimum point. Oh, whoops, that's not our minimum point. Our lowest point would be at the -2, so we're right here. Lowest point, then we're center, maximum, center, minimum, center, maximum, center, minimum, center. That's more than 2 full cycles. There would be 1, there would be 2, and a little bit of change. 2 and some change. Oh yeah!